All right, I am live here again today. It is Wednesday, 2 p.m., and we're going to be doing these Q and A's on a regular basis. I have thought about kind of how to approach these quite a bit today, and topics and stuff like that for the call. And one of the things I want to do on these is I kind of want to kill two birds with one stone. So I'm going to start running these kind of like a podcast situation where I'm going to come to them with a topic each week, and we're going to have just a dialogue about that topic. Like I said, I would love to have some guests on. If you have questions, you want to come on live with me and ask questions, that is something we can do as well. And of course, you're welcome to ask questions here. Nothing is off limits. You can ask questions here in the comments, and I will answer those questions to the best of my ability and do what I can. So today, I thought about a lot about the kind of what I wanted to do to start the conversation today, and there's so many things going on in my head that I think are struggles that we're all having in this business right now. So, one of which I think is appropriate, and I've talked about it a few times, is just with everything going on in the country and the world right now. I'm curious to know how many people out there, and it's not something you necessarily have to answer, but how many people out there are operating from a fear-based decision-making process, right? So, a lot of you know my story. In 2003, I started door knocking pre-foreclosures, made a lot of money. In 2008, I lost it all, and I had a really, really hard time. I shared on something yesterday. I was doing a talk last night, and I actually shared. It was 9 years ago, August 31st, I think 2011. 9 years ago, um, we closed the restaurant and nightclub. So that was like the last nail in the coffin of my epic and total failure and demise. August 31st, 2011, we decided we closed down the restaurant. We actually decided about the day before to close down the restaurant and nightclub. We'd been fighting with the city for a number of years for permits. We had been fighting with um, the landlord. We had been fighting with the economy, and I was at probably the lowest point. I always share this post on Facebook in 2010, October 2010, about 9, 10, well, 11 months before that. I had posted that I was struggling to find a path. So it had already been almost a year in this kind of dark spot, and we had finally decided that the fight wasn't worth it anymore. We closed, and at that point in time, the restaurant was the last thing I was holding on to. And so when we closed that, I had to look for a path. I had to find what I was going to do next, and that's where I took that assessment, kind of looked in the mirror, and decided that I was going to get back into real estate investing. So, from the time we closed the restaurant in November, I probably made the decision to get back into real estate investing near the end of the year, and and then June 2012, I got my first deal. So, but one of the things that I see questions popping up here, and I'm going to answer them. What's up, JD? How's it going? Andy, Michael, I'm going to get to them. One of um, the things that kind of is a lingering issue for me since the demise of my success is this PTSD, right? I talk about it pretty openly that even when I go to pay with a credit card right now, I still have PTSD that's going to get declined. And I still will at times revert to operating in kind of a fear-based decision making process in my real estate investing business. And when I look at the times where I've had the most success, it's when I basically, for lack of a better term, dropped a pair and just took action, right? And that's where I've had the most explosive growth as an investor. That's where I've had the most success as an organization. And so that is, I just want to kind of share that because right now I think a lot of us will struggle with that. Like we're questioning whether we should spend marketing dollars, whether we should do these things in our business, and or even get started. If you're somebody brand new watching this, we're struggling to decide whether or not we should, whether or not we should even get started, and making decisions from a position of fear. And that's when you're running a business, and when you are, especially in times like this, that's one of the worst things you can do. And I'm not talking about making conservative decisions. Like I'm the first one to say, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Like cover your downside. But when I find lately that I'm questioning whether or not I should do something, and I stop and I think about whether or not that question is coming from a fear-based mindset or a rational concern, when I have that gut check and I realize that, hey, I'm holding off making that decision, or I'm not doing something out of fear, um, that's it's a wake up call for me and allows me to take action. So just something I wanted to share for those of you right now that are going through, whatever it is you're going through in your market. Some markets are performing really, really well. Some are not. You're trying to decide whether or not you should hire or you should market and postcards and direct mail and text messaging and all that kind of stuff like that. I really want to just kind of encourage you to take a moment, look in the mirror and go, okay, am I making a decision to do something or not to do something? Is it fear based or is it logic based? And take those gut checks in moments like this. Maybe you reach out to somebody in your community that you can have a conversation with and bounce things off of. That's the other thing I found is when I bounce those ideas off of somebody, those conversations off of somebody, I talk out loud. Sometimes it really helps. So, topic of the day: don't make your decisions in a fear based uh, vacuum. And I'll get to some of these questions here now. So, Mike, can you tell us the work experience with a contractor and what you did to solve the problem? Um, Man, Michael, there are a lot of experiences with contractors as a rehabber that have been bad. And I can't say there's one worse, but I'll give you a list of a couple. So, hiring the wrong person, right out of the gate, hiring somebody that is either inexperienced or spread too thin or has underbid the job. I think that kind of encompasses what most of us encounter, and that's some of the I've had that happen where I've had somebody that was inexperienced or underbid the job, and then they start cutting corners. And when the first rehab back in 2012 that I did, when I got back in the business, was that I hired a guy I liked. I learned, don't hire somebody you like, hire the right person for the job. And that may not be the person you like, maybe somebody you don't really care for, but they're great. And the guy just did really, really crappy work, cut corners. I had to double pay for things, and it was all bad, especially when like, it was on the line. It was the first project back in the game. It was proof of concept, and I had to be successful, and I knew what I was doing to a certain degree. But it just turned out to be, all bad because, I hired somebody I liked. I was in a hurry to do it, and, and then I took for granted, and I didn't necessarily check and see what they were doing. So it just kinda put me back on the map on, making sure that we're vetting these people and we're taking steps to ensure that they're doing the job properly and that they're the right person for the job. So I think that ultimately one of the worst experiences I had was early on in my investing career when I would just do a handshake and somebody tell me, 2 weeks and 20 grand, and it would take them 3 months and 40 grand in, they still wouldn't be done. And so a lot of my bad experiences were just, not setting the ground rules. I think one of the most important things you should do when working with a contractor is really set expectations and not setting expectations, coming out of the gate, setting the expectation of who's boss, setting expectation on pay structure and timeline and all that kind of stuff. That's usually where the job went bad, and turned out to be something that made me miserable. So, Andy here, let's see. When you're getting started, either the first time or the second time, do you have naysayers? If so, how'd you handle that? You know, I think I still have naysayers to tell you the truth. But the first time around, absolutely, I had naysayers. Generally, most of us who are getting into this business don't come from wealthy families. We don't come from people who've had success in starting their own business, and they're scared for you. I think understanding that they're scared for some of them are scared for you, and some of it's jealousy, and they want to look out for you and they try to give you advice, and I think that it's advice that they understand and know, and they feel is something that they're doing you justice for giving that advice, but they're at the end of the day they're generally giving you a good disservice. So but the first time around I definitely had people that didn't believe I could do it, and then I made a lot of money, and I kind of changed some minds. When I fell, though, when I crashed and burned, they were the first ones to say, see, real estate isn't reliable. And I didn't die on the vine. I didn't crash and burn because real estate wasn't reliable. I crashed into the vine because I was a tool. I know that now looking back on it, but they blamed real estate and said real estate wasn't reliable. And my wife actually, bless her heart, was one of those people. She's a school teacher. She's very, get a job minded, and, entrepreneurship scares the hell out of her. At least it did for a long time. And so she struggled with it, and she was not necessarily a cheerleader in the beginning. When I got back in the second time, nobody really said anything to me at that point in time. People didn't naysay, but they also didn't like get behind me 100%. At that point in time, I think my wife knew that it was something I was good at, and I understood, and so she didn't say either way. You know, family didn't say either way either. I think that everybody just kind of knew at that point in time I was going to do what I wanted to do, and they whatever they said I wasn't going to listen to. So, what's up, Kenny? Here, how's it going, buddy? Benjamin, how's it going, buddy? A long time no see, man. Miss hanging out with you. South Africa, I think was the last time I saw you, buddy. Michael, dealing with something like this now. Hate it when I make a decision based on fear. It's tough. Yeah, definitely. So, what's up, Matt? How's it going, buddy? Um, and then Michael, I worry about that when looking for contractors. You know, I say, you know, surface topical, you know, it's important to have conversations when you're looking for contractors. My advice is talk to a lot of them, tell them exactly what you're doing and what you need. They will filter themselves out. Make sure that you're looking at work that's finished, but make sure you're criticizing some of the work that's finished if it is worth criticizing, and see how they handle it. Look for somebody who's teachable and coachable. Look for somebody who, you know, if you pick out something that's wrong with the job, says, hey, if you don't like what we do for you, we'll fix it, and doesn't argue with you or doesn't blame. Those are key, you know, teachable and coachable, no matter who it is you're hiring. I know people have heard me say it 100 times. That's the key tip to success when it comes to hiring anybody, including contractors, is making sure that there's somebody that's going to be part of your team and work with you. So, and let's see here, JD, fear-based questions. How do you know it's time to jump into REI full time, quit your day job, etc.? That is a fantastic question. And I will say the disclaimer on that answer is you got to know what's best for you. At the end of the day, what's best for me may not be best for you. What's best for you may not be best for, you know, Tom and Jenny and whoever else is looking into it. But um, there, I think it really comes to what your goal is. If I was to answer this properly, when's the best time to go all in? When's the best time to go in full time? What's your goal? Where are you at? What's your need? For me, I had to go all in because I didn't have anything else. I didn't have another option. It was either this or bust, right? And I was already bust, so I had to go all in. I was all in day one. It was lived it, breathed it, and that was it. Sometimes when you have security, and you have a job, you know, that's a blessing and a curse, right? It's a blessing because you have that security, but at the same time, it's a curse because it holds you back from taking action, and it holds you back from jumping off the cliff and building the airplane on the way down, right? So, you know, I would say the answer to this is if you have a full-time job that is your security, you gotta weigh putting your family in jeopardy, um, and um, and what it's doing to hinder your growth. Like if you have something that's moving and going, and that job security is now keeping you from achieving your maximum potential, it's holding you back. You can actually see that. You can actually quantify that. If I had this much more time to do X, I could make Y. And if that Y outperforms your current job, it's time to quit, right? It's time to move on and go all in. And you know, it's a simple question of ROI. You know, if you're not at a point where the ROI makes sense and you're going to put your family in jeopardy, to maybe keep that job a little longer. But again, it's just weighing that at the end of the day. For me, if I had a full-time job right now, and I did the math, and that job was costing me money, the job would be gone. And that's kind of how I would do it at this point in time. You know, is what I'm doing right now for security costing me my future security? Is what I'm doing right now costing me my ability to maximize my potential? And if I make the decision to jump today, am I going to jeopardize what I've already built? And the answer is you know, you're not going to jeopardize it, and it's costing you ROI, then make the decision to jump. And if you're like me, where you didn't have that security, or the security is not really worth talking about, then just go all in. I mean, it's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? you're, you're going to learn what not to do. You're going to learn how to be an entrepreneur. You're going to learn how to make it work. There's something about necessity that makes us perform better. And I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that. So, do you ever get? Did you ever get a real estate license, Kenny? I did not. I never got a real estate license. Show me some hearts and likes here. I want to make sure that we're doing that on this, and just give me a few likes and stuff like that if you're watching this for me. So, I never got a real estate license, and I don't feel that one way is the right way. For me, it just didn't make sense. I actually applied. I took the test. I never went beyond taking the test, and I just felt at the time I would, this is way back, in my first round, I was door knocking and pre foreclosures, and I just didn't feel like the squeeze was worth the juice. I didn't feel like having the license for me was going to be as much of a benefit as it was going to be a hindrance. You have to disclose that you have a license and all that kind of stuff like that. And I wasn't really intending on utilizing my license in any way, shape, or form. So I did not get one. Now there are people who are licensed and they're investors and they utilize the license they do listings on sellers that don't want to do the discounted deals. They work in a brokerage as their other gig, their side hustle. So again, it goes back to what's best for you at the end of the day, and what's going to be the biggest benefit, and what's going to hinder you from your success. So if getting a license is a distraction from your ability to be a solid investor, I would say don't do it. If you're getting a license is going to allow you to be to monetize more what you're doing, then absolutely get it. So Kenny, I'm gonna jump to you again here. How's business for you right now during the COVID in your market? I'm asking because we're kind of close. So it's not bad. When it comes to moving properties, the wholesale properties especially, it's actually pretty good right now. We're doing really, really well. When it comes to um, buying, I will say I'm the first one to say that sellers are taking a few minutes longer, a few days longer, a few conversations longer to get them to the finish line. So, California is the first to lock down. We're still locked down. The governor just made it harder to reopen. Now, instead of hitting X count within 2 weeks, we have to hit a lower count within 3 weeks to reopen. So it just causes confusion in the marketplace. It causes people to not be sure where they're going to go. Properties inventory is low. There aren't a whole lot of rentals available, so sellers are questioning where they're going to go. If we have renters in the property when we're buying it, there's a question as to whether or not we're going to be able to get those renters out because there is an eviction moratorium right now. So it is taking us a little longer to acquire. So, but we are still pumping and we're still plugging away. But that's part of where, I made the comment about, fear based. Right now, when I'm making decisions, I'm looking at that like, okay, so getting things to the finish line takes a minute longer in California. Um, so when I'm making decisions, I have to gut check, am I making decisions because of fear based, because of PTSD from the last round, or am I making decisions right now from, the facts that are before me? And one of the things you'll notice when I come on here with a topic, it's generally something that I've either had a conversation with within the last 24 hours that they're struggling with, or it's something that I'm personally dealing with. And I'll be the first one to say that, I'm human like everybody else. And some of my decision making, I have to gut check and say, hey, why are you making that decision? And that generally gets me, ready to jump in 100% on the right direction. So, Mike, what is your opinion on investing in out of state properties? I think that it's as long as you understand what you're doing and you do the homework, you should be fine with out of state properties. I think right now, especially some of the Midwest states are great states to invest in, especially for cash flow reasons. There are a lot of opportunities right now based on kind of the mindset of sellers in the market in some of these states. So I think it's it. I don't think anything's wise to do blind. I don't think it's wise to do without doing your homework. I don't think it's wise to just trust somebody. I think that you need to make sure you do your homework. You need to make sure you do your own due diligence, get your own numbers on the property, make sure that your exit is there in case you decide to utilize your exit on those properties. And then I think making the investment is a wise move right now. So what is your best marketing channel? Right now, my 100% best marketing channel is my follow-up. It's our own database. That is the highest producing marketing channel right now, is mining our own database. The people who have called us at one point or another, regardless of the status, whether they were dead or cold or warm, we're going through and we're following up, and we're just kind of kicking up dust. And that so far has been the most profitable channel for us in the last probably 5 months. Second to that is cold calling. We've been cold calling and text messaging, and then we actually turned the gas off on direct mail for a minute. We've kicked direct mail back up, and the jury's out on how that's going to perform going into the election. Traditionally, just so you know, I've shared this before, but direct mail is usually kind of a struggle from about July to November every year compared to January to June. Direct mail is usually on fire. Um, so traditionally we kind of take the foot off the gas going into the summer with direct mail. And this year we took the foot off the gas a little bit more because of COVID and so on and so forth. So we've really focused on mining our database and cold calling and stuff like that, and that's been very successful for us. So Matt Smith, um, how large of a portfolio are you shooting for to get passive income? I'm thinking of a goal of 50 houses with 300 passive income per property. Just curious. Um, you know, I'll be honest with everybody here. I haven't been through the years a big rental person. I am ADD. I like the short term gains. I always have. I buy stuff for rentals. I hold it for a couple of years and then I turn around and sell it. Usually once it vacates. My goals now are more multifamily community based. We're working on a few projects right now. We've identified a couple of projects we're working on in the multifamily arena. Again, it's one of those things. What's the best fit for you? I liked when I buy properties, when I buy rentals, I like to buy rentals basically the same way I buy flips. I think that's kind of my disease. Is it's hard for me to think in terms of buying it like most people will buy their rentals. If you're a buy and hold person, I am a rehabber. And so I like the deal. Even when I look for a personal residence, it's like I was telling somebody today, I'm allergic to retail. I want the deal. And so it's just kind of how I'm made. It's my DNA. And so when I do buy rentals, they're what they usually are something that would be intended to be a flip, but has a great renter in it, and we just don't move that renter out. We keep it until they move. So that's kind of traditionally the way I've been doing it. Like I said, my mindset's changing more and more to multifamily and holding things a little longer. For me, it comes down to a goal of a monthly income. With passive income. My personal goal, which I'm not going to share here right now, but my personal goal is based on what passive income I want each month. Some people want 10K a month. I mean, you figure out what you need to live the life you want to live and have what you want to have, and without having to get up and go to work every day. And that should be essentially your passive income goal. And then you just do the math and reverse engineer it. And how many properties is it going to take to get you there? And that's how I would go about doing it. So um, Andy, what criteria would you use to determine if a property is better rental or flip? Again, I'm so the wrong person to ask when it comes to buy and hold strategies and the formulas, because every buy and hold I have ever had has worked as a rehab or flip too. And that's just my discipline. That's the way I operate. Um, it's important to me to be able to exit. And my mindset, again, it goes back to fear-based decision making, right? And PTSD. I was in the market when it crashed. It's it's a funny thing, right? I bought these properties sub two back in 2003, four, and five, and then I would borrow private money, and I would use the private money to rehab. I would rehab them and resell them, and that was my strategy. And what happened was the market was super hot and super on fire, so we had these crazy margins in these properties when we went to sell them. And so let's say I was going to make $120,000 on the profit. When I turned around to sell it, I thought, okay, I'll be creative when I sell it. So what I would do is, I would sell them for, say I'm 180 all in. I would sell them for 300, but then I would carry a note for a second for like 60 grand. Okay, on these properties. So what I did is I stacked the chips on all these notes, and some were balloon payments, some were deferred payments until certain points, and And what happened was the market crashed. So I had all these notes and I had it set up where I was going to make like this crazy amount of money each year, better, well over six figures a year, a couple $100,000 a year over a period of years, the way I stacked the payoffs on these notes and the payments on these notes, to where basically if I didn't get out of bed, um, I was going to make, multiple six figures a year. And then 2008 happened and crashed, and all of that got wiped out. Those notes became worthless because properties that were worth 300,000 were now worth 180 or 200, right? And so the notes I had became worthless. And so a couple of them paid me off, like an $80,000 note paid me off $3,000, and that kind of thing. Um, so the reality is, what I thought I was doing to be smart with this creative, selling properties burned me at the time. So I know creative's hot right now, and I'm not knocking it because I think that there are some strategies out there that are phenomenal. But when I personally do deals, I'll be honest with all of you, I have history. History is bad and good, right? History, you got hindsight and you know how to do things a little differently. But at the same time, like I said, it gives you a little bit of PTSD and it's a little bit of a scar there. And so I'm careful now when I buy properties. I don't like to have a property, even if it cash flows. I don't like to have a property that is at or over the current retail value. I won't do it. And the reason is because I've been burned already once by a market turning on me, and I know it's a house of cards. I know you can't get out of that deal. I've been in it. I've been in multiple properties where I ended up being upside down overnight, and so when I buy rentals now, when I look at what I'm going to keep as a rental property, I got to know I can exit that property. I got to know there's equity there, regardless of what happens, and I can exit that property. And that's how I make my determination. So I'm super conservative. You got to decide where you land. You can either roll the dice in every property and buy stuff above retail that cash flows if that works for you, or you can do some of your own math on it. For me, it works as a rehab and it has a great tenant. I'm probably going to keep that property. If it is something that's retail, I'm probably not. So, okay, Joanne here, affiliate marketing on your database using newsletter etc. Basically, add ads on your newsletter? Question mark. Um, I'm not sure what you mean by that. So when I talk about my database, for the follow up, we're talking about just we're cold calling our database of sellers. Um, but I'm not sure what you mean by affiliate marketing. So anyway, maybe hit me back with that so I can understand a little better. Okay, Michael, thoughts on hiring a property manager or managing it yourself? How do I find the right person to hire if that's the direction you want to go? So, um, thoughts on whether or not to do it yourself. A lot of people love to self manage it and control it. They want to build the infrastructure, and some people don't. Again, I hate to be dodging the question, I guess, but again, it comes down to what's best for you. For me, I have a team here that will manage things internally. If I didn't, I would outsource it because I don't want to be harassed. It's worth me personally spending the money to have somebody else manage my projects. If you're different, then it may be different for you. It may be worth you doing the work to save that money, and that's a personal determination. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there. When it comes to finding the right person, I think it's important to do your homework. I think it's important to talk to other clients that they're working with, and clients that and get feedback as far as um, how that company is, check the reviews, sit down and have a conversation, ask all the questions you want to ask, make sure your questions are getting answered. I have had the opportunity to work with some great property management companies, and I've had the opportunity to work with some horrible ones. And at the end of the day, they're responsible for generating revenue for you, right? They're responsible for making sure that you're not handling problems, you're not having to get up at 2 a.m. to fix a toilet, and you have your money coming in, so that they're choosing the right tenants for your properties, and there's not a lot of turnover. So I think it's important that that's what you're looking for is somebody that has a reputation, for happy clients, and that are picking tenants that aren't tearing up properties and aren't breaking leases and that aren't a problem. So, like anything else in any other profession, not all of them are created equal, and doing your homework is very important. Um, Joanne, South Africa has really gone crazy with sales in the industry, especially selling with our prime rates. that dropped so dramatically, and for foreign investors to the exchange rates has made it hugely beneficial, huge in benefits in foreign investment. So, um, yeah, I have some friends in South Africa that do a lot of investing, and I've been very curious. I went to South Africa about 2 years, year and a half ago, and got to hang out and get kind of get to know the area a little bit. And I will say that for the right investment, I might consider it, but it's definitely, I think, a really there's a lot of opportunity there. What's cool about foreign markets is flipping and rehabbing isn't a big thing like it is in the US. And so there's a lot of opportunity for somebody who wants to learn the business and do it right. Let's see here. Best tip to get investment opportunities. Talk to everybody you know. Make sure that people know what you're doing. Make sure that real estate agents, property managers, escrow officers know what you're doing. Go to RIAs. Make sure that your community knows what you're doing. That's tip number one. Then after that, it becomes marketing. Making sure that you're marketing yourself, whether it's Facebook or text messaging or cold calling at that point in time. So, but step number one is to make sure that everybody in your circle and outside your circle and is influenced by your circle in some way, shape, or form knows that you're the go-to person when they have an investment opportunity. So let's see here. Long-term sell when ready? Question mark. I'm assuming you're saying long-term buy and hold, Joanne. So long-term buy and hold. I mean, right now in any market, just about this is the time to sell if you have properties. This window of opportunity, I wouldn't say necessarily today. Today is a great time to sell, but over the next couple of months, I think are going to be great times to sell. You just got to really watch what the market's doing because if there's any indicator that something's going to change, then I would liquidate quickly if that's what you want to do. But it depends on your strategy, right? I mean, if it doesn't hurt to stay in, for the next 10 or 15 years if you're early on in it as well. It's just if you want to maximize profitability, I think the window is over the next handful of months. Um, Kenny, love these questions. Keep them coming. Give me some likes so I stay on here for a while. Kenny, so I'm at the point where this is all I got, and I can feel that I can feel the fire in me. I'm a horrible reader when it comes to being on the spot. Can you tell? What are some things you wish someone would have told you when you first started so I don't make some crucial mistakes? That's a fantastic question, Kenny. So let me say it again. I'm at the point where this is all I've got and I can feel the fire in me. What are some things you wish someone would have told you when you first started so I don't make as many crucial mistakes? So the God, there's so many ways I can go with this. The first thing is know your value, know who you are, know the person that you are right now and what you want. Determine what you want as an investment strategy. I think that's extremely important. Number one, to say, what does winning look like to me? Know what that is, so when you've got there. Number one. Number two, know your value and know who you are, and don't let anybody push you around. So whether you're talking to a private money lender or a contractor or a seller, you got to know your value. And so many of us, when we first start out, we're questioning our value, questioning our ability, questioning whether or not we're capable, and we're letting people dictate to us what the terms look like. What our rehab should look like, what our budget should be, what our timeline should be, what the quality of work should be, what our offer should be, what interest rate we should pay. And I think that I know that you're going to be better off starting out if you just sit down and make a decision that this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what success looks like, and this is what I need to have happen in this scenario and that scenario and so on. And if you can do that, and you can know that when you sit across the table from a contractor or a seller or a private money lender, that you have just as much value as they do, that you are on equal footing. They're not above you, like many of us walk into relationships feeling like we have to beg and plead for our opportunity. You're bringing something to the table, whether it's work or an opportunity to invest or an opportunity to solve a problem, and you have value. And if you can have that strength going into it from day one, you're going to be able to accomplish so much. So many of us spend too many years getting pushed around when we get started in this business, and we don't know our value, and we don't make a determination on what we want out of this, and we're like an udderless ship getting pushed around by the winds, and it creates misery. When you get into this, you want freedom, and you want to love what you do, and you want to have a better life. And in order to do that, you got to know your value. You got to know who you are as a person and what it is you want to accomplish, and you got to know that you're bringing something to the table. And I guarantee you, if you can own that, it's going to change your trajectory in this business forever. So that I think is extremely important. The other thing that I wish I would have known when I first got started was early on was not to chase so many shiny objects. There's so much noise out there on the internet right now about this new way and this secret way and this easy way and this push button way. And if I'm being real with you, it fundamentally there are only so many ways to be successful in this business. There's only so many ways to market. There's only so many ways to do a deal. There's only certain numbers that will work depending on your exit strategy. And there's no magic shiny object is going to change that. And I've been guilty of spending a lot of money chasing shiny objects that are going to answer a question for me. And when it was all said and done, it led me right back to the path of this is the way it's typically done. And so find somebody, find a network, find people you trust, you can count on, you can bounce ideas off of, and share ideas with, and that you can really count on to give you good advice. And then make sure that you are, sticking to the tried and true ways to be successful in this business, and not chasing things that are shiny objects that are repackaged, old ways of doing things, right? Make sure that you're talking to somebody or working with somebody that has years of experience in this business, or that has successfully run a business, still successfully runs a business. I think those are all important. So, soapbox. Sorry. So it says Facebook user here. I'm hiring UGC on a flip. What is the best way to make sure that contractor and I are clear on the scope of work? How do I dial in the contractor prior to starting work? So perfect. Two great questions when it comes to working with contractors. the the best way to make sure that you're on the same page and clear with scope of work is to make sure it's in writing. If you need to, like my project manager has a sheet, a walkthrough sheet. They walk through with the contractor. Each one of them has a sheet. They're both taking notes and talking things out. And then we have the contractor give us a line item bid. It's not a bid that says $30,000 for labor and $5,000 for material. It's a line item bid that says, 10 lights, 2 toilets, 8 doors, so on and so forth. And then the number. And now some people do a little differently, but we do material and labor included. We want the price, material and labor included. I know that some really good friends of mine will just bid the labor and they'll do material. But I still feel like you need to have a line item bid for what that is, personally. And if you're doing that, it's going to be very, very clear. That way, if something happens and they say, well, that wasn't in the bid, you can go back and look and see it wasn't in the bid, right? What happens when so many of you newbies out there do a job and you get a X amount of dollars for material or X amount of dollars for labor, you provide material, or 30,000 for labor and we'll buy the material at $5,000. And you go back and they say, oh, that wasn't in the bid. You go back and look and there's just a big round number. You can't argue that. And even if they're right, what that does is it creates distrust between you and that contractor. And distrust is like this awful, this corrosive acid, right? That just eats at everything. Even if they're right and they're honest, if you don't feel like they are, you feel like you said, hey, this needs to be done, and they say it's not in the bid. There's many times where I've said this needs to be done, and then we go back and they say it's not in the bid, and I can't look, right? So it's important to make sure that it's spelled out as line item either in the numbers or line itemed in what's going to be done, and that both you and them sign off on it. Number one. Number two is making sure that you're very clear in the expectation on, what you want, how you expect it. A lot of us get afraid to speak up, and you have to speak up, and you have to be kind of firm sometimes, especially in the beginning of a relationship. It's a lot easier to start out mean and get nice, right, than it is to start out nice and get mean. So you have to be firm, not firm in I'm a jerk, but just firm in I know what I'm doing and I'm not going to be pushed around. So, and that really helps with that part of it. And then how would you dial in the contractor prior to starting out? Well, I dial them in by making sure that we have line item bids that's very, very clear, that we have a conversation about how I pay and when I pay, and your way may be different than mine. And, the hard stop dates. If you have things like you're doing roof and you're doing flooring and you're doing cabinets, then you know what dates right in the beginning where they feel like you should have that stuff lined up so they're not waiting on you. If you're providing materials, making sure that you let them know that you'll have the materials on the job or available to them so they're not waiting on you, and just clearly communicating. That's where the failure, the disconnect really is the clear communication. And it's very important that that happens, and that will solve a lot of your problems. Victor, did you have a specific formula that you would use to determine the price you will pay a seller versus retail price? We do. Well, okay. The standard out there is what, 70% of ARV minus repairs and what you want to make, right? That's the standard. For a long time in the market, it was, upwards of 80%, 85% sometimes of ARV, because there were very competitive markets that people were actually buying at. And then for a minute, it dropped off of that. And then it's kind of back to being aggressive. I'm not going to lie. So, what I would say is determine, if you're rehabbing, determine what's right for you and your box, your buy box, right? So our buy box, we like 20% or better profit based on all expenses into the project: purchase price, holding cost, rehab cost. We will go get a lot more aggressive with that, especially to lock up a deal. We'll get much more aggressive with that, but that's where we like to be. So we are, I would say we're in the 65 to 85% range of ARV minus repairs and profit. So that's where we like to be. So our formula is based on ROI. Now, ROI, annualized and project wise, we want to turn the money 3 times in a year. So we want to make a minimum of 20% on our project, which means on that same money, we want to make 60% return in a year. That's our goal as an organization. That's probably a little bit above some people's head, and some people love that. For you, it's a matter of, again, what works best for you. Like, some people like, $30,000 for every project. They won't touch a project unless they're going to make 20. They don't care what they invest. Some people want to make, they won't touch it unless they're going to make 30. Some people won't touch it unless they're going to make 40. So it could be an ROI based, it could be a percentage based, or it could just be a dollar based. If you're rehabbing, figure out what is going to be the right business model for you and implement that, and stick to your guns, and don't get pushed around, and don't talk yourself into going outside that box just because um, you're scared of not getting the deal, number one. And then number two, if you're wholesaling, then I would have a conversation with the buyers in your market. Like, we know that buyers buy more aggressively than we do on some projects. And so we know where we need to lock things up to wholesale. And that's the process of getting to know the buyers in your market, and understanding what they're willing to buy from you. So let's see here, Joanne. If you ever have opportunity or info or need something, reach out. Got it. Okay. And then Kenny, you just gave me the chills, Don. Spoke to my heart, man. Thanks. I appreciate that, Kenny. Hopefully I did. Let's see here. How many people are having each person reach out? How many people are you having reach out to each person? Sorry, I'm going to read that one more time. I apologize, people. This is live. Matt Smith, how many people are you having each person reach out to for leads each day? Got it. Okay. So again, I'm not entirely sure what you're asking there, but I'm assuming for follow-up. So we're going through our follow-up in our database based on campaigns, right? So we run marketing campaigns based on the list and variations, and we name them by certain split tests. So our VAs are going through our campaigns. They're going through as many as they can, making as many contacts as they can a day. Obviously, the goal is quality conversations. They're having as many quality conversations as they can in a day, and then setting appointments, going through our database. Sometimes there is overlap. Sometimes our acquisitions team is doing their own follow up, and then our VAs are crossing that and having a conversation with the seller at the same time. I'm actually okay with that. It seems a little crazy, but sometimes people are getting called by multiple different people right now, and it's because we're super, super, super aggressive. What's happening is what we're seeing is some of our acquisitions people that have been on a lead for a while are feeling like it's not really worth their time. And then a VA kicks that dust up, and that person puts their hands up and says, yeah, I want to talk to somebody, and it gets assigned to a different acquisitions person, and we're locking up the deal. So I've muddied the waters in my organization. I hope that's kind of a clear expectation, but I've muddied the waters a little bit, and it's really been effective for us because I always use the term, it's easier to create new life than it is to resurrect the dead. And sometimes your people get in habits of, they've been doing the same thing over and over and over again, and they feel like there's not going to be a different result. It's kind of like that, that definition of insanity phrase, right? But a little different tweak. So they get in this rhythm of thinking, okay, well, that person's not going to sell right now, so they don't ask the right questions or have the right conversation. And when I kick that up through somebody else and put new life on that, suddenly a different conversation ensues. The right questions are asked, and we end up with a deal. So that's been my strategy lately. Let's see, Joanne. It was if it was easy, everyone would do it. Yes, that's very true. It's not always easy. Colleen, also important. A lot of us realize the cost of materials have recently increased substantially. That is, well, I mean, that's the underlying challenge of rehabbing right now. The cost of materials, supply chain availability of equipment and stuff like that has been kind of a nightmare lately, and that's been a challenge in rehabbing. And I've said this recently, I am wholesaling a lot more lately. That is one of the things we're doing in our organization. We're wholesaling a lot more, rehabbing less and less and less at the moment, and more so it's just because we're able to get some great numbers off of our wholesales without actually having to rehab them. And there are some questions in supply chain and pricing when it comes to rehabbing. I am conservative. I will be the first one to tell you, I am not the person who's going to tell you to go do something crazy. I know what makes me money. I know what keeps my business profitable. I know what keeps the lights on and my family fed and is going to make me money for the next 10 years. So I run super conservative right now. When it comes to rehabbing, there are two questions. One is, how quickly can I get out of the project? If I'm going to be in it for longer than I want to be, I'm not doing it. And two is, am I going to be able to effectively do what I normally do within a reasonable cost? We have been insulated some because we've had standardized pricing with our contractors for a number of years, but now those conversations are having to happen where we're having to go, be willing to pay more. And right now, I would prefer to wholesale, or wholesale, to be honest with you. So rehabbing is still effective, but you got to know going into it when you're budgeting that you may be waiting longer for something, you may be paying more for it, and that's definitely something, Colleen, I'm glad you brought up. So this was cool. There was a lot of questions here today. We've been on for 47 minutes. This is fantastic. So, if you have any more questions, please let me know. If you've gotten value from this, make sure that you like and share it as much as possible. Give me some thumbs ups and stuff like that. I do want to share this. We have the Flip Talk Virtual Summit coming up, and that is at the end of September. And you can go to fliptalkvirtualsummit.com. It's $97. I'm going to throw it out there. It's $97. It's 3 days. We're going to break down lead generation, closing, talking to sellers, best strategies and techniques, and of course, getting the check. This is more geared for somebody who's new or been in the business for a little bit, but wants to get more deals. And there is going to be a lot of value given at this event. We have 8 or 9 or 10 speakers coming. We make an announcement shortly on who those speakers are. All people that I'm close friends with, all people that run phenomenal businesses, and all people that are going to share some incredible knowledge at this. So if you do want to be a part of that, it's not going to be a webinar. That's the one thing I want to share, is this event is not going to be a webinar. It's actually going to be set up like a Zoom call where you can come in and ask questions at certain points and share and contribute, and it's going to be interactive, which I think is really, really cool. Benjamin, buddy, thank you. I appreciate it, man. Reach out to me anytime you want to chat. I do miss our conversations and stuff. So have a good one, buddy. Kenny, yes, it is for newer people. The Flip Talk Virtual Summit at fliptalkvirtualsummit.com is for newer people. But if you've been in the business, you're doing deals, it's for that too. It's honestly, if I'm being real, we wanted to make sure that somebody newer could come in and get information they take action on. But if you've been doing this business for a little while, we're going to be sharing some stuff and some strategies that we're using right now. That, even if you've been in business for a year or two or so, you're going to get value from it. So it's designed for everybody. I never do anything at a completely low level. I go high level on just about everything I do, but we wanted to make sure that somebody that was new or newer was able to get what they wanted. So that's the idea behind it. It's for everybody, I guess, is the best way to say it. But I want to make sure that I encourage people that are newer. This is not going to be over your head completely. It is going to be something that's great. So Colleen, is your summit a sales event or mostly good knowledge, it is good knowledge. I mean, anybody who's been following me for any length of time is going to know that I'm going to bring it. My people are going to bring it. You are going to be able to walk away from this with actionable information. We are going to share stuff that we're actually doing in marketing. We're going to share stuff that we're actually doing in sales strategies and techniques. We're going to share stuff we're actually doing in dispositions and maximizing profitability in dispositions. It is not, it's 3 days. There's no way that we could do 3 day just sales. That's not going to happen. It's a knowledge event, and anybody, like I said, I've been putting out information for and the podcast for 4 years now. Anybody who follows me and knows me is going to know that we're going to bring value to that event. So it is designed so that if you are brand new, you can actually implement right out of the gate. If you are doing deals right now and you want to grow, you can actually implement right out of the gate. And if you're somebody's been in for a little while, and you're looking for some more opportunities to expand what you're already doing, you're going to be able to get information and implement. It's designed for everybody that is in this business right now that's looking for better ways, more ways, or just to get started. And, again, we're going to make sure that you're successful. And here's something I'll tell you. If you spend the first day in an event and you don't feel like we're giving knowledge, I'll give you your money back. I have no problem with that. So let's see. Perfect, Michael. Thank you. Matt Smith. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you're always cheering us on. And Colleen, thank you very much. Kristen, is this in person only? No, the event's virtual. So the event is, it's a virtual event. It is September 20. That's a fantastic question. So it is September 24th to 26th. So it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it is it's virtual. It's 100% virtual, so that you can enjoy it from your own home. And yeah. So like I said, we're going to bring some incredible knowledge. So make sure you check that out. Go to fliptalkvirtualsummit.com if you're interested. Check it out. Like I said, we're going to bring a ton of value at the end of day one. If you can look me in the eye and say that I didn't bring value, then hey, I'll give you your money back. I have no problem with that, because I bring value. That's what I do. Look me up on, if you're just now the first time seeing me, look me up on, just Google me, Don Costa REI. You're going to see I've been putting out information for almost 4 years now. I am about changing lives, impacting lives, and making businesses better. That's my mission. I crashed and burned one time and had to start over again. And I want to save people from doing the crazy. So I want to make sure people have good knowledge to run their businesses. So I appreciate everybody being on today. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at The Real Don Costa on Instagram. And of course, you can always find me all over Facebook in the Flip Talk podcast group or on the page. And of course, fliptalk.com is the podcast website. And as always, the Flip Talk podcast, you can find anywhere you listen to podcast. And I really appreciate those of you listening. If you like this, make sure you share it. Give me thumbs up and loves. If you listen to the podcast, leave a review. It only takes a few minutes. It does mean a lot. It goes a long way to the effort that we put in these kind of things, and it helps me get the word out and impact lives. So Colleen, first time, just found this yesterday. So perfect. I appreciate it, Colleen. Reach out to me at donfliptalk.com if you have any questions about anything. Anybody who has questions can reach out to me about the event or the podcast, or if you want to be on a Q&A like this, if you want to sit in this and just grill me for 30 minutes, I'll go live and let you grill me. I'm going to air it, but I'll let you grill me. So yeah. So with that said, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys hanging out here. I appreciate your questions. Bring them next week, Wednesday at 2:00 Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. And I will be here to answer your questions again. Obviously I have a different topic, something off the top of my head that I'm either dealing with or answering questions on. And until I talk to you again, have a wonderful day.